Okay, hello everyone. How are you today? I wanted to make a video to talk about ELLs or ESL, English as a second language, English language learners, English as a new language. There's so many ways that we call these students, but pretty much any child that has another language spoken at home other than English or grew up speaking another language. So I wanted to share some vocabulary activities. So I'm going to go to my page. And I just want to show you a few ideas and how you can do this also with Canvas. So I did this during the pandemic through Google. My school actually used Google Classroom, which I voted for Canvas, but ultimately I think my principal was trying to not put more on teachers and have them learn a new program. So we just did this in our Google Meet through a verbal oral activity, and it worked fine. In this scenario, I'm going to have them do it through Canvas Studio. So you can use this even in a warm up as a classroom discussion. So it doesn't even have to just be online, but if you want to use it online, this is how you can do it. So basically I use Gifs and I teach vocabulary this way. So I'm actually going to make this full screen just so you can see it better. So I take the vocabulary word that we're learning, or I go through that lesson or that unit that my students are learning about and pull keywords that I think are going to be challenging for them. So then I'll give an example. I find a GIF. Usually I start actually with the vocabulary word and looking for a GIF. And then when I find the GIF, that's when I make the sentence, because if you try to find a specific GIF, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So I recommend finding your GIF first and then make your sentence. And then I'll try to simplify the definition. So that's what I put up here. And then I put a question in a different color. And I keep the word and definition in one color, the sentence in a different color, and then the question in another color. So they all remain different colors and they remain the same colors in their category on every single slide. There is one I did not put a question for just because I didn't like how the word was being used as a noun. I think we typically use that one more in an adjective. And I didn't want to go into that in this lesson. So I'm going to go into that on another day, and I'll show you which word that is in just a minute. So this is how it kind of looks. So we have the word careful again. So you have white, pink, and blue. And you can choose any color you want. Those were just the three that I chose for this one. White, pink, and blue again. White and pink. So I don't have blue in this one. So danger, this is the one I didn't really care for because I would normally say, oh no, that's dangerous, dangerous. You know, it's more of an adjective, not a noun. I'm sure there's examples I could think of for a noun. I just didn't want to have to go into the whole grammar lesson of it because I really wanted to focus more on the specific vocabulary and not go into the root words and changing of grammar. I just wanted to really focus on the definitions and the meanings of these words. So that's for another day. And then I have the word escape. So this is how I would teach vocabulary. When I started doing it this way, I really noticed such an improvement in the retention of how my students would really understand this vocab. And I would do this with my newcomers too. This worked across all levels of proficiency. all my students could participate. And I'm talking about newcomers who speak zero English. They could get these words, because even if they could not tell me, for example, discovered unexpectedly, those are big, big words for newcomers. Like discovered, they have no idea what these two huge words mean, but they could get the video. Like they got that. So they understood what caught meant. And then when we started doing examples, they could explain it to me. So it was very broken. And they would maybe, like one of my students was able to tell me he stole a chicken because he came from Guinea. So he said he was like telling me about how he stole a chicken from someone's farm or something, and he got caught. So his mom made him take the chicken back. So it was just something funny like that, but he understood it because he was able to tell from the GIF. So he was able to make that connection and able to really connect with our lesson. So this was a fabulous activity and I highly, highly recommend it. And I'm going to show you one more way that they can use this. So if you want to do this entirely virtual, then how you can also have this set up is when they do their response. Let me see if I can do it through here. Perfect. Okay. When they do their response, all you have to have them do is tell them to respond using Canvas Studio. So you put the questions here. So I just redid it here. And I have this one set up for my moderate kids. So these kids actually have some proficiency in English, so they can actually speak complete sentences. They kind of just need that extra push and additional vocabulary. So they will be able to do this pretty easily. So all they will have to do is when they hit this plug, that's it. It will click, they can click on Canvas Studio. And there it will pop up and they can actually record their own response. I don't know if I can, let's see. Yeah, webcam capture, there we go. So you can have different options here. They can even record it in their Canvas Studio like app, but you should be able to have them do it just directly from the response. So I don't know if it's gonna do it. Yeah. Hello, hello. So that will be it. Yes. And then it will go in here, and then all they have to do is post reply. And then I also had it where they would have to respond to classmates. So that way they have that collaboration as well. And again, if you want to change that for newcomers, you absolutely can. Maybe they write. So I also have my kids write it first. Maybe you have them write it first and then they do their speaking. Some kids need that additional time to first think about what they want to say, so they could write it first and then respond. Some kids can just respond in their video. Some kids just need that think time. So maybe just give them 2 minutes to think first about how they want to answer their question or brainstorm, or just let them write down words for each of their questions. For newcomers, your comprehensive, low language proficiency. I don't like to say low. Kids that don't have very much English, we'll put it that way. So your students who don't have as much English, you could just have them maybe respond to one student, or maybe they don't do the responses just because maybe they're not going to understand what they're hearing, right? So it's okay. You can completely differentiate that. The biggest thing is, one, to just be able to get them to interact with that vocab and respond to those GIFs in some format. I personally like to use the Canvas Studio just because I want them to speak. I just know that my students in particularly really do better if I give them that think time first and actually let them write it out first. But I'm also in elementary school, so it really depends. I know every child is so different, so you know your students better than I do. So some kids may not need that extra step, but those are different ways in how you can differentiate. I want to show you one more activity that I do with my students. I'm still working on this class. I haven't finished setting up. All right, this is another one I do, and I love it. So I use picture prompts all the time. I love them. I think they're fabulous, and I do the same thing using Canvas Studio. I have them share their feelings and why and how, and I give them a time limit. So I actually put on a timer and I say, okay, you're going to have 2 minutes, and I want you to think about all the different things that you see in this picture. And we go through like the 5 different senses, right? Like, what do you see? And what do you think you're hearing? Like, what about this lady's face? What do you think she's saying? And try to really bring out the emotions and feelings and just all the different elements that come into pictures. Because, you know, they say pictures say 1,000 words, right? So really, really diving deep into what the images have. And then I let them respond into how it makes me feel. And I do this before we even dive into any type of curriculum. My 5th graders actually do a whole unit on Jackie Robinson, discrimination. There's so much into that. So I actually start with this just to kind of set the tone and start to build background knowledge. Some of my students have no prior knowledge to like anything with racism, Civil War, the slave trade, like none of it. So I really have to go way back and dive into that, because otherwise what's the point? They're not going to get it. So I usually start with this picture just because I think it shows so much in the faces and emotions. And then I kind of move back from there. So this is another great activity, just using pictures to prompt speaking or sentences. So I either have them write it or I have them again speak. And that can be either in a written discussion on Canvas or Canvas Studio. Again, you can have them do responses. Probably for this one, I would not do a response for other students just because it is more sensitive and some of the students are seeing these types of topics for the first time. I just want to make sure it is a safe environment where they can voice what they're feeling so that we can address everything in a sensitive manner. So this one I would probably keep more private and just have them do their response. But I know I have amazing kids and none of them would probably do anything that I would probably be like, what? So, but you never know. There's always that one kid, right? So, but yeah, so these are 2 really, really great strategies that I would highly recommend. I have loved them so much. So hopefully this helps. Let me know what else you guys are interested in hearing about. Okay, bye.